Meet the Minnesota North Stars today at 6.
Which sign, known in ancient times as a harvest symbol, is the 6th sign of the zodiac? Tony.
Sagittarius?
No, it isn't. West Van, you going to give me a sign, Jan?
Scorpio.
I'm looking for Virgo. On what island would one find the 18th century French fortress Louisbourg? Jan.
St. Breton.
Can't give you points for that. Kamloops, Tony.
Cape Breton.
It is Cape Breton, and that is the name of the island. What upper layer of the atmosphere commences at a height of 8 to 12 miles and extends, Claudia?
Stratosphere.
You are right. The Nebula and the Hugo are awards presented. Alec.
Science fiction.
That scores for West Van. It is Kamloops 20, West Van 10 in tonight's BC Championship Final on Reach for the Top.
Reach for the Top was brought to you by the province of British Columbia. And here with the BC Finals is your host and quizmaster, Perry Garner.
Thank you. Thank you. And here we are with the BC Championship Final. We've arrived at that point where we have only 2 undefeated teams left of the entire bunch that started the season. Kamloops got here by defeating Cowichan. Most recently, West Van upset St. George's. Good luck to both teams as we introduce the students, beginning with the Kamloops foursome of Tony Ryan, Jim Warrid, Steve Reese, and Claudia Priest. And West Van and Alex Stockdale, Jan Vilcek, Mark Lancaster, and John White. And their supporters. We have both teams on the scoreboard, so let's go on to a 30-point open question, 10 points for each correct answer. Use your buzzers and bells. It happened 42 years ago, on April 30th, 1939, in the United States. Television was introduced as a regular service. Which network was involved? Mark?
NBC?
You're right. 8 years earlier, in 1931, NBC began experimenting with a new medium, sending its signal from a transmitter at the top of a famous building. Which one, Jan?
Empire State Building.
Then in 1939, the personalities began to appear before the cameras. One of them became the first president to be seen. John?
Roosevelt?
He was the first American president to be seen on TV. Here's a 25-pointer. Regular question, here is the scramble. What historic document was signed aboard the battleship Prince of Wales? Tony Ryan.
It was the signing of the Atlantic Charter granting NATO.
You're right. In 1941, you got there. But you got there, that's the big thing, Kamloops. What was the name of the agreement by several nations in 1864 which established the neutrality of battlefield medical facilities?
The Geneva Convention?
In 1975, 35 nations, including Canada, signed a broad agreement on human rights, peace, security, and justice. It was the largest summit meeting in European history. In what European city was it held?
Helsinki.
Good for you. The score is Kamloops 45, West Van 40. That may be an indicator of the way things are going to go for this half hour. I have a 30-point open question. Many cities in the world have rapid transit systems with distinctive names. For each name I give you, identify the city. The first one is BART. Steve?
San Francisco.
Right, Bay Area Rapid Transit. How about Metro? Alec?
Paris.
Or Montreal. The Underground? Alec?
London.
Is London. Here's a 35-point regular. With this scramble, what is the name of the most recent spacecraft that has been exploring Saturn? Alec?
Voyager 2.
No. Kamloops. The answer, Steve?
Voyager 1.
Voyager 1 is right. Kamloops. These questions are about Saturn. What is unique about Titan among all the moons in the solar system?
It's the only one with an atmosphere.
Before the Voyager probe, scientists believed Titan's atmosphere to be composed mainly of methane. What element do they now believe to be the main constituent?
Helium.
No, nitrogen. Voyager 1 sent back pictures showing the outer ring of Saturn to have what unexpected form?
It has braids in it.
Open question now for 40 points, and I think you'll have fun with this one. In what decade of the 20th century were these fashions introduced? The hobble skirt, Tony.
The 1910s?
Which decade would that be, Tony?
That would be the 10 to 20
the second decade? No. West Van? John?
1900, 1910?
That's right, the first decade. It was 1905. How about nylon stockings? What decade, John?
1920s?
No. Kamloops? Steve?
The 30s.
The 40s. Cloche hats. What decade, Tony?
That would be the 20s.
That's right. And wait a minute. Bermuda shorts? What decade, Tony?
50s.
Okay. Here's a 25-pointer. Regular question. And here is the scramble. What is the origin of most limestones? Alec?
Shellfish, dead shellfish.
I have it here as consolidation of the skeletons of marine invertebrates, but I'll take your answer. West Van, what is the limestone, which is almost entirely calcite, crumbles easily, and is made up of the remains of planktonic organisms and shells?
Chalk?
What is the mineral calcium magnesium carbonate, which is found notably in the region of the Alps? The word is?
Shale.
Dolomite. The score is Kamloops 100, West Van 80, and watch your monitors. 40-point open question coming up. From the clues I'll give you, identify the following explorers and navigators. Here's the first one, an English adventurer, John White.
Drake?
Too long, John. Kamloops, an English adventurer who tried to establish a colony, which he named Virginia in the New World. Claudia?
Francis Drake?
No, Sir Walter Raleigh. Here's the second. A Portuguese whose discovery of John White?
Magellan?
No, whose discovery of a route to India around the Cape of Good Hope opened up trade, Jim Ward?
Prince Henry?
Vasco da Gama. So far, you're 0 for 2. So far, I'm surprised. Here's the third one. A medieval Italian merchant. His exploits, Tony Ryan?
Marco Polo?
That's right. That scores for Kamloops. And finally, a cartographer who introduced curved lines. Alec?
Mercator?
25-pointer now. Regular question, here goes with the scramble. What famous American was known as the man from Jan Vilcek? 5-point penalty for West Van. Here's the question, repeated for Kamloops. What famous American was known as the man from Independence? Answer, Tony.
Thomas Jefferson?
Oh, no, it was Harry Truman. Are you ready for some music? I have a question worth a total of 40 points. Popular songs here. I'll give you the song. You give me the movie in which it was featured. And here goes with number 1. John?
Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts
No. More for Kamloops here.
Cool.
Steve?
Yellow Submarine?
That's right. The song All You Need Is Love, and you heard a couple of bars of the melody. Here's the second. I want the movie. Tony?
Love Story?
No. The song is called We May Never Love Like This Again. The movie The Towering Inferno. Let's go on to this song. Tell me the movie. Tony? Too long. West Van, Alec?
Stars Born.
No. The movie Lovers and Other Strangers. And here's the last one.
Everybody's talking at
What's the movie?
I don't
Mark.
hear
Electric Cowboy?
words saying.
Which one?
Electric Cowboy?
No.
Only the echoes
Midnight
of
Cowboy.
my mind.
And that's all the time I'm going to give you on that one. The score is Kamloops 120, West Van 85. It is time for our feature on this championship final, and tonight we have a mystery guest. So students, would you don your blindfolds, please? And there they go with their blindfolds. When they are all in place, let's see, top team, everything ready? Looks good? Bottom team, looks good? Would you welcome our mystery guest, please? Possible 60 points. A possible 60 points if you can identify our mystery guest on the first clue. Use your buzzers and your bells. 1 answer per clue per team. Here goes with number 1. I was born in Bill Davis's province, although he was not the premier when I entered the world in 1945. No takers? The second clue. Like a lot of kids, I thought it would be great to be a firefighter or a truck driver. My early love, however, was sports. I was a catcher in baseball, and I played on the line in football. I think somebody else owned the ball. No takers? The third clue. At the age of 10, I was playing hockey in the Church Athletic League in Kingston, and when Portland drafted me in 1967, baseball lost a catcher, and football a lineman. Jan?
Light.
No. Kamloops? No, here's the fourth clue. I joined the Vancouver Canucks 10 years ago. I set a club record for Tony.
Dennis Kearns?
That scores for Kamloops. We had lots of fun with the misleads there. Now, watch a great night in March at the Coliseum. Dennis, I don't think there was a dry eye in the house at the Coliseum that evening, and I can't help but asking you if you have experienced anything in the way of withdrawal pains, having retired after so many years of distinguished service in professional hockey.
It was very difficult to retire. I enjoyed hockey. It was a pleasure. It was a real honor to play in the National Hockey League and play for the Vancouver Canucks, and I'm sure that I will have withdrawal pains.
I think there's another thing that should be mentioned about Dennis Kearns. I think you were a great model for young hockey players. I think you represented all that was good about the game. I'm going to ask one other question, too. You have two sons aged 4 and 5. Are you going to urge them into careers in professional sports?
Professional sports, it's been very good to me, but I would definitely want my children to go to university before playing hockey of any type.
Education first, sports second.
Exactly.
Thank you, Dennis Kearns, our mystery guest tonight. Right now, with the score, Kamloops 150, West Van 90. We're going to take a break. We'll return with tonight's championship final right after these words.
If you're an employer, you should know about BC's new Employment Standards Act. It means better protection of employees' rights. For instance, hours of work and overtime, wages, layoffs. Employees are entitled to maternity leave, and there are special provisions for farm and domestic work. The new Employment Standards Act, it makes BC a better place to work.
For complete information, contact your nearest Provincial Ministry of Labor office.
More than 50 cents out of every dollar in our pockets comes from an area like this. Putting something back for the future. That's good forest management.
In tonight's championship match, the score at halftime is Kamloops 150, West Van 90. Short snappers, of course, to begin the second half. Which element is present in all organic compounds, Tony Ryan?
Carbon.
What branch of science is involved in the study of poisons? Tony again.
Toxology.
At what Canadian university did Ernest Rutherford explain radioactivity by his disintegration theory? Mark?
McGill.
Yes, it was. What was the code name selected by the German Supreme Command for the invasion of the Soviet Union in, Tony Ryan?
Operation Barbarossa.
In 1941. What award for the best humorous book published in Canada is given, Tony?
The Leacock Award.
And it's given annually at a banquet in Orillia, Ontario. Here's a 30-pointer. The subject is literature. It's open. From what 20th century novels are the following opening lines taken? It was a bright, cold day in April, and the clocks were striking 13. The novel, 1984, by George Orwell. If you really want to hear about it, the first thing you'll probably want to know is, Jim Ward?
The Catcher in the Rye.
Yes, sir, by J.D. Salinger. In my younger and more vulnerable years, my father gave me some advice that I've been turning over in my mind ever since. Jim?
The Bell Jar.
No. West Van. It is The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Here's a who am I question. That means, once again, a possible 40 points. This time you do it without blindfolds. Here are the clues. The first one. I was born in Egypt in 1894. During the First World War, I served in a Bavarian infantry regiment and fought at Ypres before transferring to the Air Corps as a pilot. All right, Tony?
Billy Bishop.
No. Second clue. Following the war, I enrolled at Munich University and met Adolf Hitler at a meeting of a society devoted to, Tony?
Hermann Goring.
No, devoted to the study of Nordic myths. In 1920, Jan.
Hess.
Hess scores 30 for West Van. Watch your monitors. Here is a question on art with a total of 30 points. For 10 points each, identify the painters of these modern works of art. And first of all, we have An Apprentice, painted by a Parisian who... Jan?
Rousseau.
No, a Parisian who died in 1958. There is the work, Kamloops. The artist is Georges Rouault. Now, a work entitled La Vie, or The Naked Dead. Who's the artist? Jan?
Miro.
No, looks like, doesn't it? A little bit. Jim?
Picasso.
Yes, that's always a good guess with a painting like that one. Finally, a self-portrait by a French artist painted in 1956. Jan?
Modigliani.
No, again for Kamloops, it does look a little bit like Modigliani, but it is in fact Bernard Buffet. And I have a 25-point regular question, which follows. Here's the scramble. In what court was the famous oath, I'm going to abandon the question. In what country was the famous oath of the tennis court taken? It was France. I answered it all. Here is a music question now with a total of 30 points on this one. The following works were written by 20th century composers. Here's the music, and you name the composer. The first one is Russian. Who is it? John?
Stravinsky.
Yes, that scores for West Van. Now, a British composer. John?
Benjamin Britten.
No. Kamloops, the work is called The Planets. The composer, Gustav Holst. And finally, we have a Frenchman, 20th century. Claudia.
Debussy.
No? West Van? Eric Satie. Well, those were a little esoteric, weren't they? Here's a 35-point regular question, which may get you back on the track. Here's the scramble. What field event was formerly known as the hop, step, and jump? Tony.
A triple jump.
You're right. Kamloops, try these. Some questions about field events. What is the weight of the shot in men's
pounds.
competition?
16 pounds.
The Fosbury flop and the Eastern cutoff
High
are terms in what field event? He said high jump. He's right. What is the only field event in which competitors are allowed to wear gloves?
Javelin.
No, it's the hammer throw. Let's check our score. Kamloops has 235. West Van has 140. And I have a French question for you with a total of 40 points. The following are French versions of well-known Shakespearean quotations. I'll give 10 points for each correct translation. And we begin here.
Ne sois ni prêteur, ni emprunteur.
Tony.
Neither a borrower nor a lender be.
You're right, and it comes from Hamlet. Here's the next.
Seigneur, que ces mortels sont fous.
Alec.
He who died was crazy?
No. Again for Kamloops.
Seigneur, que ces mortels sont fous.
That's from A Midsummer Night's Dream. Lord, what fools these mortals be. Try this one now.
Un cheval, mon
John?
royaume pour un cheval.
A horse, my kingdom for a horse.
Do you know the play?
Richard III.
That's right. Here's the last.
Mais doucement, quelle lumière perce là-bas par cette fenêtre.
Alec.
But soft, what light through yonder break?
I think you're terrific, all of you. You're right. You got all 40 points on the French question. I have a 45-point regular. Here's the scramble. What do astronomers mean by the photosphere? Steve Reese.
That is the area around the Earth which emits light, just
Can't take that. West Van, the answer. Alec?
Surface of the sun?
That's right. West Van, these questions with 4 minutes to go. They're on astronomy. In what month is the Earth nearest to the sun?
December.
No, it's January. You were close, but no points on that. How many eclipses of the sun can be seen somewhere in the world every year?
6.
2. What is the nearest galaxy to our own Milky Way?
The Greater Magellan.
No, it's Andromeda. Occasionally, a large star will explode, and a substantial amount of it is blown away into space in the form of high-speed streams of gas. The explosion appears to us as a very bright star. What do we call it?
Nova.
Or supernova.
Or supernova.
Now, what's it going to be? Tom, I heard nova and supernova. No points on that? All right, I go on to an open question for a total of 40 points. I'll name a present-day nation that gained its independence following World War II. You name the country from which it gained its independence. Got the idea? How about Upper Volta? John.
France.
Mozambique. Mark.
Portugal.
Uganda. Tony.
Britain.
And Zaire. Mark.
Belgium.
Right. We have 3 minutes to go. I have a 25-pointer. Scramble on this. What agency was established by a U.S. congressional authority? Tony Ryan.
Pinkertons.
5-point penalty for Kamloops. Here is the question again for West Vancouver. What agency was established by U.S. congressional authority to coordinate and analyze foreign intelligence reports for the president? Gian?
CIA.
You're right. West Van. Questions about the CIA. During what president's administration was the CIA set up?
Eisenhower.
I heard Truman first, and that's right. In the early 50s, under the direction of Allen Dulles, the original purpose of the CIA was changed to include planning of covert operations intended to remove foreign governments whose policies ran counter to U.S. interests. In what Central American country did the U.S. back a revolution to topple a socialist administration in 1954?
Chile.
It was Guatemala. A long question for a wrong answer. Here's a 40-pointer. Question about Broadway musicals. What is the name of the musicalized biography of a famous black jazz pianist of the 20s and 30s? Steve. Too long. West Van. John.
Ain't Misbehaving?
That's right, the story of Fats Waller. Christopher Isherwood's Stories of Berlin was made into a Broadway play, I Am a Camera. John?
Carousel?
No. And later into what famous film musical? Kamloops. Tony?
My Fair Lady.
Cabaret. Damon Runyon wrote stories about New York street characters. The inspiration for what musical, Jim Ward?
Guys and Dolls.
Where does the corn grow as high as an elephant's eye? John White.
Oklahoma.
Oklahoma's right. It's time for our short snappers with a score. Kamloops 260, West Van 220. Try these. Who directed the films Raging Bull and Taxi Driver? Tony Ryan. Too long. West Van. Answer, Alec?
Martin Scorsese.
That's right. On what river was Canada's first nuclear reactor constructed? Tony.
Chalk River?
Who wears the fisherman's ring? Answer, Tony Ryan.
The Pope?
Name the two Canadian newspapers which ceased publication August 27th, 1980. Do you know, Tony?
The Winnipeg Tribune
That's one.
and the
West
Georgia...
Van, do you know the other one? John?
Toronto Star?
No, Ottawa Journal. 5 points to Kamloops on this. What is the fish appetizer named for the Iron Chancellor who helped found the German Republic? Jim Ward.
Bismarck.
But what is the appetizer?
Bismarck.
West Van, do you know? How about Bismarck herring? When the voice of the turtle is heard in our land, what season is it? Answer, Tony.
Autumn?
No. West Van, John.
Summer.
It is spring. On which river is the city of Liverpool? Alec.
The Mersey.
Who discovered the electron in 1897? Tony.
Chadwick?
No. The answer, Alec?
Rutherford.
Thompson. What nation occupies the western side of the island of Hispaniola? Tony Ryan.
Cuba. No.
No, it's not. West Van, John?
Haiti?
It is Haiti. What former West German chancellor won the Nobel Prize for Peace in, John?
Willy Brandt?
Willy Brandt in 1971. In what year was the Magna Carta signed? Tony Ryan.
1215.
1215 is correct. Against which, there's the bell. Game is over. Here's the score. Unofficially, Kamloops 295. West Van 270. Close game. So right here, we'll check the figures very carefully before returning with our BC champion.
Discover the gourmet spirit of a new world marketplace. Spend a day at the Grenville Island Public Market. Enjoy yourself. Savor every golden moment. It always was the best way to shop, and it still is at the Grenville Island Public Market.
The creation of beautiful things. At J. Collins Furniture Gallery, we think of furniture as art. The line of a chair, the curve of a lamp. At J. Collins Furniture Gallery, every piece is exquisite, an expression of a fine craftsman's pride and love for his work. If you love truly beautiful furniture, come to J. Collins Furniture Gallery and invest in a piece of fine art.
It's official. After a very exciting championship final, the score is Kamloops 295, West Vancouver 270. The winner and our new BC champion, Kamloops. Here are the four students: Tony Ryan, Jim Ward, Steve Reese, and Claudia Priest. And let's hear it now for our runner-up this season, the West Vancouver team of Alex Stockdale, Jan Vilcek, Mark Lancaster, and John White. Now, here's where the prizes and the awards come into it. And first of all, I'm going to ask the captain of the West Vancouver team, Alex Stockdale, to come down to center stage, where we have a $500 bonus scholarship check for West Vancouver, to go along with the $400 already earned by the team for winning a zone championship. Making the presentation, we have the Minister of Education, Mr. Brian Smith.
Congratulations, Alec. You did very well. You just need another minute on the clock.
Yep.
Now, let's have the captain of the Kamloops team, Tony Ryan. And have we got some prizes for Kamloops? In addition to the zone championship of $400, a $1,500 scholarship award for Kamloops.
It was a tough match. You did very well.
And the Premier's Cup, the first of the trophies.
Pleasure in presenting the Premier's Trophy to you and acknowledging the first interior winner of Reach from the Top in 10 years. You did very well, and you withstood a strong challenge in the last 30 seconds, and you answered the winning question. Congratulations.
Now, let me introduce the Director of Television for the Pacific region, Gordon Craig, and it's a good thing that Tony Ryan has one arm free, because now we have the presentation of the traditional CBC trophy to the winners.
Congratulations, Tony.
Next week,
we'll be watching you in the final.
Next week, Kamloops will represent BC in the national playoffs, and I know you'll join me in wishing them continued success as they reach for the top. Thank you.
Reach for the Top was brought to you by the province of British Columbia.
CBC Merchandising offers a wide selection of books based on CBC television and radio programs. Canadian Cities and Sovereignty Association by Jane Jacobs, The Educated Imagination by Northrop Frye, Movies and Mythologies by Peter Harcourt are only 3 of the many books available. For a free catalog of CBC books, write to CBC Merchandising, Box 500 Station A, Toronto, M5W 1E6.
CBC Radio Week, inviting you to sample the special sounds of CBC. Take in a play, go to a rock concert, speak your mind from coast to coast, come to the opera, hear the stories behind the news, find out what people are thinking. It's all on CBC Radio and CBC Stereo. You'll get more out of your radio because CBC puts more into it. Try it this week and find out why more and more people are switching to CBC.
Join us for a special week of radio, CBC Radio Week, May 9th to 15th.
This is CBC,